We were right next to a highway, and I used to watch those trucks and cars go up and down the road, and that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be somewhere to go. And so I was always a person on the go, and that's just kind of where I started. And straight after high school, I lived on that farm for a while. I had a couple of businesses I did, and working in restaurants, just making ends meet. And then I had an opportunity to go to Paris, Texas, to run a ranch. A nice family out of Dallas, and I went out there and did that for a couple of years and cut my teeth on the ranching. And my family's been five-generation ranchers and farmers. And so I went out there, and in your young late teens and early 20s, making a ranch in Paris, Texas, isn't the place that you really want to be a single guy. The single life's not that great. So, but it taught me a good work ethic. It taught me there was no television other than what they brought me up in the videos. And it just taught me how to be comfortable with myself. I used to fish in the evening and work hard all day. And I think that's when I got to Paris, Texas, is how I kind of started really cooking on my own. My mother and father had sent me a couple of cookbooks, and I still got them to this day. One of them was Julia Child's. And living in Paris, Texas, actually Conoway, Texas, which is north of Detroit, Texas, which is about 30 miles from Paris. Supplies weren't what they were. You just do. So I started using these cookbooks they gave me, and one was Texas Hill Country, one was Julia Child's, and I started doing recipes from there and, kind of cooking for myself. But the beauty of it was within 100 feet of the trailer house I lived in the trailer house, was about a 20-acre spring-fed lake where you could pluck bass out. And so that's kind of where I started making different batters and, frying fish and on my own, and that kind of got that scoop cut. But the big part of it was when I left the ranch, I came back to Dallas and was a bum for about a year. I just decided to check out. And one day I was in a restaurant and / bar a guy owned, and they lost their dishwasher. And the owner asked me to be a dishwasher for the night. Started washing dishes, and that night he goes, "I want to see you tomorrow." I said, "Well, I was in the water skiing and drinking beer is what I was." So, hey, I want you to come back tomorrow. I said, "Well, I don't know." He goes, "Well, just come on back." And they fed me. And so I learned quickly in the restaurant business, you'll never go hungry. You'll never go thirsty. You take the tips home with you at the end of the night. So it's not a bad life. But I did. And the next day I came back and said, "I want to have lunch with you." And that same day I met a friend of mine who is still a mentor, someone I respect incessantly. His name is Tootie Frank Johnson. He was a person who ran a kitchen with an iron fist, and I was just a dishwasher. But I watched her shake down fellas like you wouldn't believe. And I'm a pretty good sized old guy. I mean, back then I had a pretty good way with my wits and my fists, and I was the hell out of this. Well, this woman scared the hell out of me, and so I did. But the owner that day came in and said, "I want to sit down with you and I want to talk to you." So over lunch that day, he just kind of said, "You know what, Mike, you got something going on. You're raised right. You had a good background, but you're just not going in the direction you're supposed to. But what you have is potential." I go, "Well, thank you." He goes, "Well, that's not really something to praise about. Potential is the capability of doing something and never doing it." And so that kind of set in with me. That's one of those life lessons that I remember. And it kind of reiterated what my father used to say to me. And then I had a junior high football coach, John Cox. He said, "You are who you hang out with. You hang out with bums, you're going to be a bum." And it kind of all settled in. So I started working with this guy, and then I went quickly from being a dishwasher to a waiter, and worked as an assistant for a long time. I'd leave and go work at other restaurants, and he'd hire me back, and I'd leave and come back. And, this went on for, I think probably close to almost 15 years. I ended up in Phoenix with him, and then I got in construction, trucking, demolition, excavation. Sold that business, moved with my wife at that time to Roanoke, Texas, and I got into the luxury car business, worked with Mercedes-Benz, Land Rover, Jaguar, Porsche, Volvo, and then learned the car business. And I've just always I guess I'm kind of like a chameleon. I can adapt and improvise. And my passion in my life for so long has always been cooking. And and I didn't get married the first time until I was 37 years old. I think my personality got in the way, and that's the reason I didn't get married until I was 37. But, I used to cook a lot. I had to. And, lots of times I found it was easier if you're dating someone to just have them come over and cook. And if you could cook for them and have a good time and watch a movie, I didn't have a lot of money. So, great way to save money. If it didn't work out, they're out the door, and I was off to the bars with my buddies, or we'd hang out and watch a movie. So I've always enjoyed cooking, and we didn't have the fortune when I was growing up of, the television shows. We had PBS with Julia Childs, Justin Wilson, The Galloping Gourmet, a couple of others, but we just didn't have, a lot of people have them now. I just always cooking. And if you ever saw me back then, you could tell I had a passion for cooking because I was probably about 230 pounds. I was a big old boy. And, I've always enjoyed cooking. I mean, I think if you really think about cooking in our life experiences, they're really wrapped around meals: Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, 4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day. If you really think about it, some of the greatest things, if you're a foodie or if you like food, just a little bit, you're surrounded by food. And some of the best things, it doesn't cost a lot to eat it. Have a good time about food. I had a few bar tabs on it. I should have a good time. That's what it was, and my passion for cooking just kind of carried on. And even when I left the business, I had that peer pressure when I was in the business about going and getting a real job. And I used to joke about that. Where else in the world will you never go hungry? You'll never go thirsty. You'll take your cash home with you at the end of the night. And most importantly, you don't take your job home with you. You don't have a lot of reports to do unless you're in management. You get to be in there. I was around some great chefs. I mean, I worked with Joe's, the guy that started TGI Fridays, Joe Snoffer. I worked with Dean Ferris, Stephen Piles, Kevin Rathbun, Keith Rathbun. I worked with great restaurateurs, Jack Baum. I worked in the Brink Corporation for a little while. I worked with Houston's as well. I was down in Houston with Tony Vallone and his restaurants, La Grilla, Grotto, and he had Anthony's and he had Tony down there. So I've always had this opportunity to be around great restaurateurs and great food, and it's just kind of a osmosis program. I just absorbed a lot of it, and shoot, I like to eat and I like food. And I like testing. I mean, I've had a lot of successes, but I had a lot of failures too. Prior to coming on, me and my wife were trying out 4 or 5 different raw tuna dishes a night to do it. And who would ever think some cowboy on a ranch in Lipan, Texas is doing raw tuna, but we did. And what it is. So, I had the pleasure of living this, and I've always, when I left the business, I truly enjoyed the restaurant business. I recommend all my kids and my kids get in the business. For me, I was a little bit introverted. And once you get in the business, you got to learn how to be, speak to people, and how to talk to people and deal with some people. I've waited on some pretty incredible. I've waited on a president and his wife. I've waited on the Shah of Iran's son, diplomats, movie stars, and some of my favorites is regular Joes. Probably one of my favorite people I ever waited tables with was Red Adair and Michael Halbudi. And there's some great stories to tell, but just regular guys that were very successful in life, and meeting them and those two also, along with Red Duke and Jim Good, Good Barbecue and all that. Just meeting down-to-earth people who like food, who are friendly, non-pretentious, and were regular Joes that just made you feel like you're one of them. And that was what impressed me about the restaurant business. And so I left it, and I got construction, truck, and demolition. And with that, I like working with my hands. I've always taken on good challenges. And then, I got out of that before Phoenix collapsed. I think I did all right. Business, same thing. Car business is sales, and sales is restaurant business. And I did that. And then back in 2010, I went through a divorce. Good for me. We're good friends. She's a good person. She raised my kids. She brought, and I raised me a little bit, but I met my current wife, who I've known since 1969, first grade. My father was sick at the time, so we decided to move back to Texas and came back to work for a luxury car dealership here, and just didn't have the hankering for it anymore. The rest, the car business has changed incredibly. And so I got into real estate, and I do farm and ranch real estate. And I'm pretty successful at that, but I've always had this urge for cooking. I can't provide a lot of people with a lot of money. I can't provide them with I can provide them with a good time, sense of humor, and pretty good food. So I always did it. And I had a good friend of ours, someone we went to high school with, goes, "Hey, you need to go try out for the show." It was an ABC show. It was with Adam Rich. It was called Food Fighters. So I went over to Dallas, drug some food over there, and went through it. And they said, "All right, you go through this big, lengthy process, a film test, questions. You just go through a lot of that." And I got almost to LA right before I was supposed to go. They said, "We're just not going to take you." And found out that I got bumped out for a Cowboy out of Oklahoma that everybody knows. He's a great Kent. Can't think of Kent's last name right now. And I don't know if he beat me out, but they ended up using him on the show. But I just told him I was missed. But the beauty was the casting director remembered me, and so between that show and the following December, I had a stroke. And being 53 years old, or 52 at the time, having a stroke makes you step back, makes you pump the brakes a little bit and think like, whoa, what have I done along the way? Am I done the right things, the wrong things? So I looked at my wife, Melanie, and I said, I think it's time for us to change our lives. And so I was adamant about moving to the ranch, or looking for a ranch and purchasing one and buying one. My family, like I said, it has been fun ranching. So we found one. And the week we closed of it, I was supposed to go to my tryouts for Master Chef. After my stroke, my cognitive memory and some of my reflexes weren't what they were. And when you get in those situations, most people don't understand, you become a little petulant. And it's not that you're reverting back, but because you're so disgusted that you may be able to say something, but you can't say it or you can't do it. And I was a little petulant. So my wife, at all of her 5'4", came out to me and said, today's your opportunity to go out and try out for the show. Or you're going to do this. She goes, well, I don't care if you don't go, but I don't want to hear you gripe about it or have regret. I said, well, I don't have anything cooked. She goes, yeah, you got pork chops inside the house. Yeah, you got to understand, we just moved in this ranch, and that I was out in the wind and rain, and I cut firewood, and I was wearing my regular regalia, boots, jeans. I had a hoodie on and a black cowboy hat, and a rainy, dreary day cutting firewood. And she goes, well, find something to cook. And I had some bone-in, thick-cut pork chops. So I came in and took those out, and I chicken fried them. I guess it's not more chicken fried pork chops. But chicken fried pork chops, made them with jalapeno cream gravy. I had some roasted chicken, so I made green chili chicken enchiladas and some avocados. I made guacamole. So I packed them up in a hot and cold bag, jumped in. My wife goes, well, go take a shower. And I go, nope, I'm being petulant. I said, I'm going as I am. And I did. I went in those jeans, boots, dirt, mud, hat, hoodie, cowboy hat with sawdust on it, and I took off, and I got there. And they promised me if I got there that I would be one of the first in line. So I'm sitting there waiting to go in. I look over to the right, and there's this little lady in a plaid shirt, her blue jeans, and she's holding some peanut butter cups. I go, what in the heck I just got into? But the irony of that person is going to rear their ugly head later because it was Reba. And Reba and I became fast friends. So I came in there, and I was the first guy in a room of 50 people. And you talk about intimidating. I think throughout that, I think they had over 5,000 people that day trying out for the show. I think, and I was one of the first ones in there. So I go, the chef walks up right up to me, and I'm the first guy at this table. And I look around the room, and I want to tell you, there's some pretty cool food. Right next to me, a guy had a great steak dish, or girl did. She was fun. Next to her was a guy that had some homemade ravioli stuffed with salmon, and cakes and cookies and just all different types of food. And I go like, I just wasted 3 hours of my day, my life, coming out here to do this thing. The guy asked the first question, he goes, what do you make? So, well, I got food, and what'd you make? I said, well, this food is me. What's on this plate is me. And I won't digress a little bit. When we bought this house, we didn't have any plates, and you had to take your own plates. And we had Korean, those plastic glass plates, and they were ugly. I mean, just Dixie plates. But I did. I put it on there, and he looked at it, and he goes, well, nice plate. And I go, well, I thought you would. He goes, I'm glad you dressed up for it. And I go, well, I did. And he goes, well, you got a little bit of personality. What'd you make? I said, I made chicken fried pork chop with jalapeno cream gravy. Got a little green chili chicken enchiladas, and I got a little chipotle guacamole. He goes, well, why'd you make the guacamole? I said, after you taste the other food, you may need that to tame it down a little bit, but this is me plate. And he bit into it, and he goes like, son of a, well, whatever. It's the best thing I've had all day. We went out to a restaurant in Dallas last night, and I won't name its name. Its name starts with Rust and ends with it. And he goes, if they would have had this, I would have ordered this. And he goes, you did yourself well. He goes, I want so well. On the other side of the room was another chef. He said, come over here and try this. And he walked up, French guy, and he tried it. He was like, son of a. It was a And it was pleasing. He goes, just need a little more personality. By the way, why'd you dress up? And I go, well, I got work to do. If I get out of here and you don't select me, I got to get back to work. So I wasn't going to take a shower, just clean up, come see y'all. If y'all like my food, that's what's most important. We'll get enough. And sure enough, they shortly later, they dump us off into a room. They call out 10. They send us to another room. And then they ask you a question. And I was standing there next to a guy named Frank, which is a dear friend of mine now. And, another one from Chicago who lives in Highland Park. And they asked me, he said, well, if you don't get on the show, what's going to happen? I said, well, listen, this show's not going to find me nor break me. I just had a stroke. And God blessed me with a second chance. I don't want to tell you that if I don't get on the show, my life is going to go on. Strike this off the bucket list. I took a shot at it and we're going down the road. But if you do select me, we're going to have some pretty good food. We'll giggle a lot. We may drink a little brown liquor. And so I guess that made a pretty good impression. They came back around to me and they asked Frank, said, well, they asked him a question and he goes, what about your food? He goes, well, I like to go out to these real bougie restaurants like that go down there from Chicago. I went, oh, here comes a kitty cat bite. And so they go through the thing. They dump us off to another room, us 10. They make us wait for a little while. And while we're in there, of course, I'm wearing my cowboy hat. And I made a comment about, I like Texas food, and the dichotomy of Texas food is about, we have everything from, Vietnamese, German, Czech. I mean, we've got French, Spanish, Mexican, Tex-Mex. Hell, we got our own food here called Tex-Mex. We got our own, steaks. I mean, there's not something that you can't have in Texas that you can't have in any other major metropolitan city. So, and we got in the room again. She walks right up to me and she looks at me. She goes, well, I heard you say dichotomy. I didn't expect that to come out of you. I said, well, cowboy hat shock you, man. There's not just a pretty face on it. There's some brains and intelligence. And she kept telling she was from Highland Park. And so I shot one across her bow about that. But then she picked the cat fight with Frank. And let me tell you, Frank had a set of tonsils on him and he could speak very clearly. And he let her put her in her place. And then as they're sitting there going back and forth, with his vociferous manner, all of us sitting there going, here, kitty, kitty, kitty. So, you don't realize that the producers are watching. So they called the three of us out. They called Frank, myself, and the girl, and they said, well, we'd like you to do a film test the next time. I said, well, I can't do it the next time. I do it on Monday or Tuesday, but I can't keep driving back and forth. So I go in there the first day for my film test, and the casting director that remembered the Food Fighters was in there, Kelly Mack. And the guy, and he was hilarious. And I came in and they looked at me and I said, well, let's get it on. And the rest is just kind of hard. You come back and they call you back. It's a cat and mouse game. They test the patience, I came back and went to Irving, my old hometown, at the hotel there. They gave us the MMPI, the Minnesota multiphasic for a 500 test question. And I passed it, I guess. First time I passed the test. And background check, and somehow I passed that test. So that's 2 in 1 day. And then I did a psych test. And I knew I was out of there on that one, but I passed 3 tests in 1 day. My mom was proud. And then they said, we want you, we'll call you. So about midday, I get a phone call and they said, hey, you're going to Hollywood, pack up. So I packed 3 large bags of luggage, a briefcase. I get off at Love Field with all this, my wife's car, and we dump on, here comes Reba. I get out with 4 pieces of luggage. She gets out with a damn gym bag. So we get there and you go through the process and all that. And what an incredible experience. Most people don't understand that you're sequestered from your family. They take your phone away from when you get there. It was almost 3 months that I was gone, and my wife was here running our farm and ranch real estate business, our residential real estate, our rental properties, our ranch, and maintaining. We got 6 kids combined. And so she did all that, and she only got to talk to me. Not even talk to me. We only got 10 minutes of phone time a week, and she managed it. They talk about behind every good man, there's a good woman, and you really are. If you're strong, it's because you got a stronger woman behind you. That's what I had.
So let me ask you a question here.
Sure.
So, you're to the point where we're at Master Chef here. And I know everybody wants to know, is Gordon Ramsay as tough as he seems, or is he a pussycat?
Well, let me tell you, he's a big old son of a gun. He's about 6'2", 6'3", played professional soccer, and I want to tell you, He's no slouch, and he's a big old boy. And I love when people say, "Well, if he talked to me like that, I'd whip his ass." Excuse my language. Well, I'll tell you, you better put your guns ready to go because this boy's whooping on you. He's big. I mean, at one time he bent down and put his hands on his knee. He was staring at me, and he's a big old boy. Those lats are standing out. But the thing about him is, I think he's an honest guy. He's not going to fluff it, and he's not going to tolerate it. And the first day he walked up to me, he says, "Newton, you're 53 years old. I'm 51. We're over 100 years old." I said, "Because older the fiddle, the sweeter it is. Respect your elders." And he is that way. Is he tough? Absolutely. You know, you don't get multiple Michelin stars by being a pushover. He's no dang pushover. And you know what he did? I think that on that show, if you ever played a sport and right before a game you get those knots and those butterflies in you, well, I did. But he makes you push yourself. And if you don't respect him and you don't like him, then you shouldn't be on those television shows because he's good. And he's respectful. He's not going to be my best friend. He's not writing me Valentine's card, not sending me Christmas cards. But what he sent me back home with was a knowledge. And gave me a different outlook on it, made me test myself in ways I didn't test before. I respect that man incredibly. Rod Sanchez as well, and Christine Tosi. And probably the hardest thing for me was on social media and those type of platforms, watching people berate them and talk about them, you know, and poor Tosi takes a beating sometimes. But let me tell you what, y'all, before you ever judge a person, you need to walk a mile in their shoes. As that old Indian slang, I'll say, walk in her and listen to her. And look at where she came from in Ohio and where she's gone and what she's done, the University of Virginia, and her baking skills. I want to tell you, you can't take anything from that person. Maybe she didn't have the personality. And Aaron Sanchez, same way, another native Texan, straight from El Paso. But his skills too. His mom was a chef up there. His dad's a ranch hand, and just by north of Alpine. And he grew up the right way. You're going to have great respect for these guys, not just because they're on television, because their skills are crazy. Yeah. When you're there, you know, I thought I was a pretty cocky person when I went there, and I got humbled real quick. Slam show, you know why. But, you know, it was an incredible experience for me, and it's made me push myself further than I ever thought. And at 55 years, my culinary career pretty much behind me, but it's making me want to do things for not just myself, for others. And really, like I said, we're doing a tuna dish tonight. We made a buddy of mine, an older gentleman, works at ML Letty's, had a request for a chocolate and peanut butter cheesecake, and we're going to surprise him with one tomorrow. And so it's just those type of things that this is what I can do now. The blessing of being on this show, I've been called a narcissist because of that. And I guess I am, because my favorite subject is me, as you can tell. I haven't stopped yammering right now. Excuse me. But I think a big part of it is also that, you know, to me, it's giving back for food. I love food. I love to eat, and I like sharing that. I think you tried some of mine, Paul. And
oh, yeah.
We do, you know, the way we cook, and, you know, I love food. I love beverage. I like commonality of people. I just like people. And the blessing of the show was that I could be better at it. It's also afforded me the opportunity, the avenue now that we can give back. God gave me a second chance. We've been able to help multiple charities, and we've raised this year. Our goal is $500,000. We've raised since the show. We had $100,000 goal, and we surpassed that. We're at $350,000 plus right now. And so, this is the beauty of the show. That's what I got to do. So, we went from talking about Gordon Ramsay there. Is he a big old pussycat or not? Well, let me tell you what. I don't think so. I wouldn't call him that to his face.
Big guy with big guns and big personality, but he knows what he's doing also.
Man, what a food he puts out.
Yeah.
Just, go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off. Let me analyze TV.
You're fine. No, the last show you were on, you had this challenge, and you had that can, and you had the toughest can in town, it looked like. So what happened with the can?
I think Jargate 2017. You know, the cat car whipped my ass that day. You know, and that was a weird thing. You know, you talk about you get into the challenges, and first of all, I didn't think I should be in the challenge, but they selected me, and I said, all right, let's get it on. Let's get it on like Donkey Kong. And I was kicking on all 8 cylinders. It was probably one of the most times, other than the steak challenge, I think on the show, that I was just pumping on all cylinders. I wasn't an eight. I wasn't a V8. I was a V12 German-made precision engine, just running on all cylinders. And I came down to the last 45 seconds. My oyster was perfect, my pasta was perfect, my beurre blanc was perfect, my presentation and all that. And I went to open a bottle of caviar and it just whooped my ass. And part of it, I will tell you, part of it is, and I don't want to use it as an excuse. I lost a lot of strength on the left side of my body from my stroke. I don't have much feeling in my left hand. My face on this side is partially paralyzed. My fingers always. But no, I went to wearing it out. I had a knife on it. I had everything. You saw the glass I did. I had bent it up, but it just, that's what got me. I would have won the challenge. I thought my food was better. I thought, but I didn't finish the dish. There's a lot of people say, well, putting that on the dish would have made it finished. In other episodes, some people did finish, but they won. But the truth, fact of the matter is, Jashika got all her product on there. She presented what they had asked, and I just didn't get mine completed. So I left Viva Las Vegas. But let me tell you, if you're going to get kicked off the show, there's no better place to get kicked off in Vegas, man. I got kicked. And and let people know background of the show. I'll probably get in a little bit of trouble from MasterChef if they're seeing this, but we were doing that at the top of Caesar's Palace in Cher's private residence. And we were on the patio doing that overlooking Vegas at 2:00 in the morning. I mean, 2:00 in the morning when we were filming. So it was a pretty crazy time, and Yashika and I had a good time. Yashika's a great friend of mine. What an incredible lady. What an incredible person, an incredible friend. And if you're going to lose to someone, you want to do it to someone you like. But I damn sure would like to send her back to Detroit, to be honest. I should have. And I would have, because I was clicking on all 8 cylinders. I was going to send her. I was mad. I could have been on that challenge. And first of all, and I was ready to go back and do some redemption. I tried to put me down the old pipeline. I want to send Jeff, Caitlin, even Gabe and Danny. I want to send those people home packing. And I think I had a lot more left in me. It didn't work out that way. But you know what? Hey, what a great adventure. Be number 12 on the show when so many others tried out to go and do this was an incredible adventure.
A lot of bonding, it sounds like, too. When you're spending that much time and they become family, you don't have anybody else there.
That is so true, Paul. And when we went from 40 to 20, that's the first thing I said to him when I got on I was the oldest guy, and Gabe was the youngest, and Gabe's very close with me, and I'm very close with him. And even Jeff, the antagonist, he and I talked today, and I keep in touch with all of them. And we're getting ready to have a cooking class here at the end of July with Gabe and Jason. Look at the dichotomy. We got an Asian guy from Boston. We got a young black gentleman from Tulsa who's also going to cooking school and chef school, and we got myself, the redneck in the lower part of the gene pool here. And we're going to do a steak and pasta classes, 3 of them coming up at the end of July. You can go to our Facebook and look at them. But, it's just that bonding that we had. I've done others with Jason, Reba, Yashika's come down here. Jeff's going to come down here, and Danny. And I want to tell you, we got on that bus that day, and I said, listen, we're ladies and gentlemen working with ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be one big family as long as we're here. And as long as we're here, we're going to be civil, we're going to be kind and considerate. And if you don't like it, let's get off the bus. No one got off the bus, but I tell you, I've been a little nervous if Reba or Ebony got off the bus. I think I would have had a handful. If I had both of them, I think I would turn tail and run. But the honesty of it, we are one big family, and we're so close to one another. We love one another. Dino has been Dino's like a young son to me. I mean, yeah, we're probably polar opposites, but I learned a lot from him. He learns a lot from me. I love that kid to death. I love everybody on the show, and I'm just not saying that. Just you became a family because you're so close knit, tight quarters, and all that. You're sequestered for however long you're there. It was many months for me. I mean, it was and for others it was even longer. So you learn how to be friends. But we did a lot of pranks. We did a lot of fun stuff. I'm a prankster, so I had my fun with Jeff and some others, and it was really good. Kate, but look at the cooking though. Look at everybody's style of cooking. You got Adam and Jason, and you got Caitlin up in Chicago. You got Jeff down in Tulsa, Tampa Bay. You got, I could go on, Danny up in Boston. You got Nico and You had, it's funny. You had 4 or 5 guys from Boston. You got Sam from New York, which I had the pleasure of sitting Sam on, but Sam was really intimidating. The first time I saw his cooking, he used some black ink in that. So what an experience. What an experience now in my life that's taken me in so many different directions I ever thought we did. Most people my age are winding down, trying to figure out what they're going to do in retirement. And here I am taking off doing other things and catering and, cooking and raising money for charities. And heck, I even got a few line of products getting ready to come out. And always got my swag, my shirts and T-shirts. You can always go to cowboychefnewton.com and see those. And, we'll help you out. We're doing recipes and blogs. And so, where this is going, I've left it to God. I think he's going to guide me and direct me where I need to go. Still do a little bit of real estate, do a lot of ranching. Unfortunately, here in Texas, we're fighting a big drought right now. I'm really concerned about that. I'm kind of focused on my place right now out here doing that. I'm doing some cooking and real estate, so I've got a lot of irons in the fire. I didn't think it was going to be this busy at this age. Of course, we 8-year-old mother, which is a chore within herself. And so, we got a lot going on, but what an incredible journey.
So I want to make sure that people heard those websites and your Facebook page and all that. So let's mention those slowly so that if anybody wants to write those down, they have that opportunity. So your website?
All right. My website's cowboychefnewton.com. It's cowboychefnewton.com. You can find my page at Cowboy Chef Newton on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. It's going to be at Cowboy Chef Newt. And then you can find me on Instagram. I think it's Cowboy Chef Newt. This whole social media platform is new to me. I mean, social media, picking up the phone and twisting it down about originally 7 times. Now we had to go up to 10 times. But my social platform is really taking me. It's really amazing. I've had some great people. I mean, just people have said the kindest things. And I've even had some people say mean things that I've been able to say differently. If they don't like it, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with a little criticism, whether it's good or bad. Let me tell you, I grew up with a father who didn't mind putting a boot right up my 6 every once in a while. So I think I can take a few harsh words. It's okay. Maybe make me think a little bit differently. But you can always go to cowboychefnewton.com. We got some T-shirts. We got some, as I call foolish trinkets out there. And we got a blog. We've been a little slow on blogs lately, but we put out a lot of recipes too. I've got a cookbook in process right now. And I like to share with people, one of the things I always like to tell them about, cooking is it's you get recipes just for guidance. It's not the exact way. I mean, I wasn't the first guy to make a cheesecake. I just got my adaptation on it. And it's the way I do it. Same with guacamole, my enchiladas. And I guarantee I wasn't the first guy to grill a steak or pan-sear steak or mashed potatoes, but it's just my twist on it. And so when you look at a recipe, put your own twist on it. Don't be shy. I tell you, I've had a few disasters come out of my kitchen, and there's a lot of good things, a lot of great things come out of the kitchen. So if you ever get an opportunity to go on ours, you'll see my ugly kitchen. My ugly kitchen was actually remodeled, I think, back during the late Carter years or early Reagan years. So that tells you what I'm dealing with. And you have to have the best stove. I got a 4-burner stove run on 3 burners at this time. I've got an oven that puts out some pretty good food. It's a small kitchen. I got a washer and dryer in my kitchen with me. So what's a good thing is I can multitask. I can do laundry. I can do that. I can make coffee. I can cook. And I got the triangle. The triangle is the kitchen, cooking area, and the refrigerator and all that. My wife is so proud that we had 3 refrigerators in our house at one time, one in our living room that's since been removed. That finally happened. And living in our house is not what most people did. My wife, before she'd move out here, we had to redo the master bathroom, kitchen. That's about all I can say in the guest bath. But it's an ugly house. It's an ugly kitchen. It produces some great food that comes out of here. So I always like to say, you don't have to have a great kitchen. You don't have to have the great things. Like I said, I got a 3-burner stove and we put out some pretty good food. So take what you got, use it, love it, enjoy it, and cook. You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be the worst. Just go make food and enjoy it. And spend family time. My kids love my food. That's the only thing they love about me. But they enjoy our food and they enjoy our cooking. That's what the thing is. I think I have the biggest dining room table and the ugliest kitchen. But I have love around both of those.
So I'm going to bring up a couple of things that I know you're passionate about. And one of those is the local 4-H program. You love to work in the culinary classrooms, mentoring students in the local school. You use your time to raise funds for the local food banks and other charities. Gloria and I have been to a couple of different events where you've done charity fundraisers. And, that's sort of life after Master Chef. And I think you're really giving back is what I'm seeing, and I commend you for that. There's a lot of people that they take the claim to fame, and don't always apply it the way you are. And I really like what you're doing, and I have to commend you on that. So I know that you have this upcoming class, and that is with
Jason. Jason Wing and Gabriel yes. Lewis. And thank you for the kind words. That means a lot to me, and you're absolutely right. And giving back to the 4-H, these are our future culinaires. That phrase I've just I've turned, but I've had the pleasure, and I've been asked this week to be on the Texas High School barbecue board to help mentor kids with that. And this is our future. And when I was growing up, we didn't have a 4-H program. My father was the president of his 4-H class, the president of the high school class. But people don't understand, this class doesn't teach about just raising animals. It teaches how to be a good person. It teaches you how to be on your own, and it teaches you how to go on and do things in your life most of the time. I mean, probably the greatest thing for me was, as a kid growing up, was being raised around farms and ranches, even though we had a place in the city. But those things were, my father was a environmentalist. He was a farmer, rancher. And like I say, he was a businessman. It's the preservation of what we have. We still have a lot of trees. We still have a lot of farmland, but a lot of our farmland has been gobbled up by corporate people. But the beauty of it is we're starting to see local war. We're starting to see local little gardens. You go over there off Camp Boo, you'll see a garden right by a restaurant. And these are what important, teaching the kids and our kids. And that's what I love about Gordon Ramsay, that he's actually taught his kids that, where the food comes from. We just don't go down to Piggly Wiggly or Kroger or, those stores and find that's where you come from, farms and ranches. It's my kids, my grandkids out. It's not a pretty sight at times. Understand what happens. I watched a pretty good debate yesterday about vegan versus, what I call beefitarians. And there is a balance there. You find a great balance. I have to eat my vegetables and stuff, and I won't brag for a minute. My narcissism is going to come out right now. I've lost over 30 pounds since March 1st. I've still done it with a steady diet of beef and vegetables. I've cut out a lot of the things that I love. I've had a 1.5 hamburger since then, which I guarantee at McDonald's and Whataburger, I think I've had to fire a shift, and I've had to restructure through bankruptcy, me leaving them. But, it's just learning how to eat healthy and working with these kids and telling that we got to go back, get away from these preserved foods. We got to learn how to cook. And, and I love people like Reed Drummond, out there who's really, really promoting, feeding people at home. And getting back to this, I want restaurants to see it. I love going to restaurants. I love going out there, but it's going back and incorporating in what we really learned back home. We've watched over the many years how butter and oleo back to butter, and wine wasn't good. Now it's good. And, don't eat beef, eat more chicken, but what you got to do is there's a balance out there. And teaching these kids those balance. And I think the greatest joy is, they run at me, oh, you're on TV. But the cool part of it is that they really like cooking, really like the farm life. They really like, and it's amazing. You can bring, I've got fans in Ireland and England that have had a pretty good run out there. And I've got people from those areas going like, hey, come over here. Our kids love you. What are you talking about? And that warms me to, that's greater than a $250,000 check and a trophy. That, because this is a platform that I never, ever could have had in my life if it wasn't for that show. But it's a blessing. Kids are incredible. I like working with a high school culinary program. Let me tell you right now, Granbury, Rio Vista, Cleburne, Keller, these places have these not these home ec classes like we had in high school when I was going there. We actually have programs right there. Let me adjust that so you don't blind. But they have programs of these producing these kids that are incredible, that are understand. They're making stuff that I've never even thought of. So I'm going to contribute my time when I can. It's crazy at times for me now, but giving back to them and doing that, I think it's important for us. And I think it's important for your local communities to go support these kids. You know, these kitchens put out meals for them. And that, you got to do it. And the thing about charity isn't as much it's probably just as good as for me as it is for them, but it's giving that extended hand when they need the extended hand. You know, I've watched these food banks. I'm very close with one here in Lipan. We've helped raise a lot for them. And, you know, also in the Tarrant Area Food Bank and the North Texas, you know, Food Bank, that, you know, for every dollar that you provide to these places, that feeds 5 meals plus the donations. It's pretty incredible. And to help people out do that, I mean, these kids got to eat. These kids got to have a good meal before they go to school, during school, and after school. You know, I mean, you've got to provide them with that, because, you know, if they're malnourished or they're not doing, they're not have good studies, and they're going to be a little bit bitter. You know, it's okay, people. We all at points in our life have needed that hand. I know I have several times in my life. I needed that extended hand, and people have stepped up. So it's time for us all to do that. You know, I don't want to get in my stump and saying if you don't, it doesn't make you a good person, but there's something you can do for someone. You know, come out. If it means coming out and having one of our hamburgers, we're going to donate a little bit to the area food banks. Come on out, have a good burger, have a good maybe a cold beer to go with it. You know, so, you know, the cooking class too. We're going to be supported there, and we're going to support the Tarrant Area Food Bank with that one. I don't think my wife even knows that. I'm springing that one on her, but you know, come out and, you know, and help these people and help things. It's important for all of us.
They can sign up on your website for that, correct?
Absolutely. They can go to cowboychefnewton.com. They can go to Facebook, look me up. My sites are public. You know, I don't have anything to hide. So you can go to Mike Newton, or you can go to Cowboy Chef Newton. You can go to the Delta Ranch, or you can go to the VIP Farm and Ranch Group. You know, but you look up Mike Newton, you'll find me on there, and you can go to the Cowboy Chef and be a part of this. You know, just like usual. Awesome. Yeah, you can go out there and, you know, sign up for these shows. It's fun. Come out. You're going to have a good time. You're going to have a lot of one-on-one. You're going to have some great chefs. I'm probably stinking up the gene pool, like I said, in this year, but you're going to learn how to make different steaks different ways, different pastas different ways. We're going to do a steak and a pasta on Saturday, and we're going to do a pasta, I believe, Friday night. We'll find you hotel accommodations, or you can find them locally. We're going to do it in Fort Worth, which I don't know if you've ever been to Fort Worth. Food's pretty good there. I got a lot of great chefs, a lot of great places to eat, you know, and it's where the West begins, Fort Worth, Texas.
Exactly.
You go to cowboychefnewton.com and you can go in and really see it. And, you know, there's going to be Jason Wang, which I want to tell you, ironically, he lives in Newton, Virginia. I mean Newton, Massachusetts. And what an incredible, he was one of the top 3 finalists on the show. And his food is not just his style and his comfort of that is incredible. Then you have Gabriel. At the time of the show, he was 18 years old. You know, he was just a young kid, and he's a young kid in a big pond. And man, his food is incredible. I'll tell you, they had so much faith in him. When he left the show, Roland Sanchez offered him a job, and Gordon Ramsay is actually helping him get through cooking school, chef school. He's one of Johnson Wells in Denver. And so, you know, what an opportunity with three different personalities, 3 different cooks, 3 different styles. And yeah, we're going to teach you how to make some pasta on your own. Jason's going to show you a different steak dish. I'm going to show you a steak dish. Like, you know, guys, I want to tell you, I can do something other than steak. You want fish, I can do fish. You want chicken, I can do chicken. And even if you want vegetarian, I can do vegetarian. But unfortunately, I'm pretty dang good at steak. I don't know if you watch the show. I put a thumping on 14 other individuals some steak. And so you're going to learn a lot. You're going to have fun. It's going to be one-on-one. It's going to be interactive. It's going to be something you take home. And we're going to send you home with some things that will help you in your cooking culinary kitchen. And it's a lot of one-on-one with some fun people, non-pretentious, just easy going. And if it carries over a little bit, it'll carry over. You're always welcome to reach out to me on cowboychefnewton.com or Facebook if you got a question. Look for our recipes and look for that. You know, so. I think that's a lot of it. I think you had some other questions.
Actually, no, I was pretty well ready to wrap up unless you have something else you wanted to say. Uh, we've been.
No, I just can't thank you all. Well,
No, I was just saying we've been at it for about 50 minutes now. And,
I told you I'm a narcissist. I can talk about me all day long. The Mike Newton Show will be a good hour show. I don't know if I get all crammed up in time. Excuse me, I've been talking so much. I need a little more tea.
No, that's okay.
I do want to wrap. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Paul. I cut you off.
You're good. You know, to me, the big point was, you know, you're really giving back to the community, and you know, it's an opportunity for people like myself and others out there that can go to see you, meet the others, you know, have some great food, and have some fun at the same time.
You really can. That's what we want it to be. This isn't about pretentiousness. We want to have fun. I mean, you know, most of the time the people, when they come to visit us, they want to have fun. And that's what we want. The food is secondary. I mean, you know, you can go to Eddie V's and have a steak, or you can go somewhere else out there. You can have a great burger. Well, I'll tell you, the burger I made was a dang good burger. I mean, I don't know. Some thought it was overcooked, but, you know, that's subjective. But it is. It's about giving people. Taking care of people is what we are in this world. You know, we watch complaints about immigration right now. We watch complaints, but really it's about us. Let's all get together and take care of those who take care of us. And that's part of the show. And I can't thank you enough for allowing me to be a part of your platform and giving me this opportunity to sit here and talk to people. And that's a regular old guy without a beard, you know, right now, which my wife's upset about. I think everybody's not used to it, but it is absolutely a great experience to go do. Want to see you out there, reach out to me. I'm fun. I got I'm actually going to go to England and Scotland and Ireland to meet some of my fans and just go enjoy a good time. And I got a young one in Ireland. I don't think he's watching right now. He's in bed right now. I know they're about 5. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning there, but I got Ryan there, and I got to get a big shout out to him and Off the Hook Butcher and so many others out there. It's just been such a cool experience, and for a little kid, from Irving, Texas, who now lives in the small town of Lipan, little rancher out here that has the opportunity to give back, enjoy great friends with the friendship and kinship of the country. I can't thank you enough, Paul, for allowing me to be a part of your show.
All right.
I
Well,
really appreciate it.
I really thank you a whole lot about that. And once again, cowboychefnewton.com, correct?
It is.
All right.
Yeah.
And you can sign
See if
up
I can't
there.
find another show, TV show, maybe.
Hey, you never know. And my name is Paul Caraway. More power to you. Until next week, you've been on the scene.
Lights, camera, action. This is 5 others, so 10 days notice.